Holley, welcome back to the show. I'm so excited to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me again. This is a treat.
I know. I say this is probably I think the third time you've been on the show, and I think I've said it the other two times as well, but it's always fun to catch up with you because you were one of the first people that probably spoke into my life, like in adulthood, where I was in the season where I was starting to disciple girls for the first time. Like I can remember the first small group I ever led was You're Made for God-Sized Dreams. And so sometimes when I look at your books on my shelf, like it's sentimental to me because you were a part of a really pivotal season in my life, spiritually speaking. And you didn't even know that then. We weren't friends. So it's fun to get to talk to you now and just get to support the work you're doing. So I'm just so thankful to have you.
Wow. I love that. And I appreciate you saying it.
So fun. So I love that this time we get to talk Christmas.
Woohoo!
I love Christmas. And even though we're recording this in advance, it's fun to get to put your Christmas hat on for a minute. So we're going to do that before we get into your new devotional book that I'm so excited to talk about today. So before that, I want to hear, what did Christmas look like in your family growing up? Tell me about some of your favorite memories.
One of my favorite memories is the night before Christmas. My brother and I would always act out the Christmas story. And
That's
so
so
my
nice.
dad would read the chapter in Luke and we would put on, all we had was these little terry cloth bathrobes. And then we would somehow fix towels on our head, to try to look biblical, and a doll was baby Jesus. And so that was really fun. So that's always the first thing I think of when I think about Christmas. And we also usually got to see one set of my grandparents. They both lived out of town. And so I think of that too, like driving to go see them and waking up at their house on Christmas morning.
Yeah, that's so fun. We would do the same thing. And my grandfather would read us the passage in Luke. And so that is always a sweet memory for me to think back on. Living so far away, I sometimes miss the Christmas family party sometimes, but I look back on those memories just so fondly. I love that. So my family was super crafty. My mom was super crafty and she passed that love on to me. And so we would always do like Christmas crafts and things like that. Was there something other than like the acting out of the Christmas story that you did like tradition wise that you always look forward to?
Yeah, there were certain treats that my family made just at Christmas. So one was peanut butter balls, which is like, I think peanut butter and confectionery sugar. And you dip it in chocolate. Yeah. Yes. And we would make them also for everyone at my dad's office. So I just remember our entire kitchen, all the counters being covered in peanut butter balls, which to a kid, you're like, this is heaven. It's
like Willy Wonka in the chocolate.
So that was a fun memory that we always did at Christmas. And still, my family always does a puzzle at Christmas. Wherever we are, one of us brings a puzzle and we spend a lot of time doing that and sitting around the table and talking. So those are two fun things.
That's fun. I admire that a lot. I do not have patience for puzzles. I'm not an enjoyable partner in putting a puzzle together because I get frustrated so easily. I've tried so many times. I tried during quarantine. My parents got super into them, but
they're not for everyone.
But I love that. I love that that's a memory for you. Did you have, we know about the chocolate peanut butter balls, but everybody kind of has their own flavor of like what had to be on their dining room table for like their Christmas meal. Were there certain things that you always looked forward to?
Yes, we had a special family pie. It was chocolate pudding on the bottom and vanilla pudding on the top. And so we only got that dessert at Christmas. And so that was it's really simple. But every year I was like, okay, time to get that pie.
I love that. My family on my dad's side, we would eat a similar meal on Thanksgiving and Christmas. So every year on Thanksgiving, we're like, man, it's only 3.5 weeks till we get to eat.
So round two.
But and some years we would be like, I mean, we could mix it up, but then somebody would go, but it's just so good,
You only get it twice a year. You might as well take advantage.
Exactly. I love that. Also, I love simple desserts, things that you can make easily to take places. So I like that.
So that's a good little trick. That's all you need. Chocolate and vanilla pudding, pie crust, done.
So good. I love that. Okay. Hard right turn because we have a book to talk about. I am so excited to have your devotional be a part of our 12 books of Christmas. And when I saw the title of it, I thought, man, how helpful will this be to people during the Christmas season? Because Christmas, as fun as it is, can be very stressful when we're spending lots of time with family and we just have busy schedules and parties every other night and all the things. And so I love this idea so it includes 60 spiritual truths that help us during stressful times. And I think sometimes Christmas can be one of those times. So I want to hear from you, like why was it so important to you to help others protect their peace, kind of coming out of the pandemic and going into this new season? Why was that an important topic for you?
Yeah. Well, I wrote the book through the pandemic.
Okay.
And so it just seemed like everywhere I looked, something was trying to steal our peace, whether it was COVID or politics or racial unrest. And of course, those things, we want to engage in, but to do so from a place of ultimate peace, I think is really powerful. And so it's really the book I needed to write to get through this time. Yeah. And that's often how it works. I think we write what we need to read. And so it was really healing for me just to sit with God and say, okay, what is still true no matter what? The entire world seems to have lost its mind.
Yeah.
And it would be so easy to be stressed out all day, every day. And sometimes I was, but what do you have for me that is unchangeable? I need to know that more than ever right now. And so that's really where the book came from.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's fun to hear kind of the stories behind how books happen, because sometimes it's like people are writing from their scars, right? Like they've been through something and God has done a work. And then years later, it's like, okay, I think that's going to be a book. And then sometimes you're just like in the depths of something. And it's like the season of, okay, everywhere I turn, I see this. And I think this is one of those types of messages. And so I love that you wrote it in the midst of kind of what we were all going through. One of the quotes that I loved and that I'd love for you to talk about is, stress is inevitable, but letting it control your life is optional. So, but we do let it control our life. So how do we stop?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's true. We're all going to experience stress. And one interesting thing as I researched for this book, I discovered that it's actually not unhealthy to have stress in our lives. We've been taught that. So even reframing how we see stress, there's this huge survey done of people, and those who had the highest level of stress also had the highest level of well-being, which you would not think those two go together. But the things that bring meaning to our lives also bring stress. Like kids are stressful, but they bring us joy. Our work is stressful, but it can bring us fulfillment. And so even pausing and saying, okay, what perspective do I have on stress can help us stop being controlled by it, because we've been taught to fear it. Like it's all bad. It's going to destroy you. It's going to ruin your health. And at certain levels, stress can become toxic. But saying I want all stress out of my life isn't realistic. It's also not even helpful. And so I think that's the first step, is saying, okay, I need to look at stress differently, which helps us not be controlled by it. And then I think saying, what is the fear at the root of this stress? Because it usually comes from some kind of fear of failure, fear of some external circumstance. So pausing and saying, what is the fear underneath this stress can be part of it. Even if it's we're staying busy all the time because we want people's approval, it still goes back to fear. And then asking, what lie am I believing about this that is leading to fear? And what's the truth that God wants to replace it with instead? And so remembering we're loved, we're accepted. We have been promised ultimate security no matter what's going on in the world. We won't instantly emotionally feel different just by saying those words. That's just not how we're wired as humans. But if we make it a practice to return to truth, then over time, when we're stressed, we'll learn how to bring ourselves out of it in a more effective way. It's kind of like doing bicep curls. Like every time we realize I'm believing a lie, and then we intentionally go back to truth, it's like we're building a muscle. And so you don't instantly say, oh, I'm super strong now. But if you do that consistently over time, when stress happens, then we can find our way back to peace a little easier. And so that's why I wanted to do this book as a devotional too. It's a 60-day journey. So basically I'm training you to return to peace. I'm your personal trainer, personal peace trainer, saying I will help you do
I
those
love that
curls every single day, so that by the end of this, your life's not going to be stress-free, but you will know how to not be controlled by it as much as you have been before.
Yeah, that's so good. And it reminds me of some of the parts of a book that were really powerful to me a couple of years ago, from Get Out of Your Head by Jenny Allen.
Yeah. Just
in talking about how we can reframe and actually like rewire neural pathways in our brain, like point ourselves back to truth instead of negativity that we tend to dwell on. And you said something that sparked something in me, and I'm curious if you have any thoughts about this. My husband and I have been married a little over 2 years. So we're in that, by cultural standards, in that season of everybody's asking when we're going to have kids, right? Yeah. And I'm also surrounded by friends who are having children or are in their first few years of motherhood.
Yeah.
And this is not directed towards any of my friends who are going to listen to this podcast. So I just want to say that before I say the question.
Make the disclaimer.
Okay? Yeah. The disclaimer, or I'm going to get a bunch of text messages of people like, I'm sorry if I've disappointed you. But I feel like in particularly my generation, and I blame social media for this, there is sort of this phenomenon of like it becoming a cute thing and like just a thing to do to complain about motherhood, to talk about how difficult it is. And there's a line of like, yeah, let's be vulnerable and be real about the struggles of motherhood or even the struggles of marriage. But when I look around, just don't see a lot of like, yeah, this is hard, but like, here's how God's meeting me in that. And yes, I lost it on my kids today, but like, here's how I reconciled that. And here's how God met me in the midst of that today, to the point, Holley, where there are times, if I'm being perfectly honest, that it makes me wonder if I want to have kids.
Yeah.
Because all I hear is negativity.
Yep.
And so for somebody on my side of motherhood, you know, as we're talking about stress, like, how do we flip that script? How do we encourage women to sure be vulnerable, but also point ourselves back to truth in the midst of hard days? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah. I think that we need to understand the difference between complaining and processing. So complaining is just sort of going down into the pit, you know, and that's not necessarily helpful unless you use it to go to the other side. And so asking ourselves, where's the end point that I'm landing with this? If I need to say, I had a really hard day, my kids drove me nuts, you know, then that's okay. But we need to get to the other side of it where we say, like you mentioned, God is meeting in this place, or I need help because I can't see him right now. Friend, remind me of what's true because I can't feel it or I can't see it. And we see that a lot in Psalms. I mean, David is like, where are you, God? I hate my life. Everything's messed up. But by the end, he says something like, and yet I will put my hope in God. Mm-hmm. And so I think asking ourselves, what is my and yet? If we want to complain and voice some things so that we can move past them, I think that can be healthy. But we've always just got to say, what is the and yet in the middle of the circumstance, and make sure we end up there. And like I said, that may mean that we need assistance. If we are stuck so much we can't get there, it's probably time to find a counselor. You know, I've wrestled with anxiety and depression, and that's one way I know that I'm going back to that place is I can't get to the and yet by myself. And there's no shame in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, like I need a trusted friend. I need a counselor. Maybe I need to go see my doctor again. But watching out for that, I think, can help. And knowing too, just watching ourselves and knowing stress is contagious. That negativity is contagious because God created us with mirror neurons where we sync up with each other's brains, which is extraordinary to me. But if you're consistently being negative in a way that doesn't lead to that and yet, then it does affect the people around you. It's kind of like secondhand smoke. It's secondhand stress. And again, not to say that we don't need to process with each other. We absolutely do. But just saying, okay, I'm here, but I'm going to figure out how not to stay here. I'm going to get to the other side of this thing. And just watching our words and saying, what do I want people to pick up from me? Is this something I want to pass on to someone else? Or is this something that maybe I need to work through with a counselor or my best friend, that's our role in each other's lives, that we get to say it all. So I think it's complicated. And whenever I say that stuff, I always feel afraid someone's going to hear you need to be positive all the time. And that's not it. I think we just need to be intentional about the impact of our words and what kind of help we might need in the midst of the hard times.
Yeah. That's so good, Holley. And I'm going to brag on one of my friends' friends. I had a conversation with her the other day. One of my dearest friends that lives in Tennessee is pregnant with their first baby. And one of her mentors in her life came to her a few months ago before they got pregnant. And she realized how negative she had become in their friendship about motherhood. And she came to my friend Becca and she was like, I just need to apologize. Like I'm coming to the realization of like the last few times we've spent time together, I've been extremely negative about my kids. And I need you to hear, like, I want to make a concerted effort to, yes, be transparent with you and sure, maybe process some things with you. But I also want to point you back to truth because I know that this season is coming for you. And I want you to know the full truth of it. And the full truth of it is kids are a blessing. And yes, it is hard and there are hard days, but I want you to see the fullness of it and not just my negativity. And I was so proud of, I don't even know that friend, that mentor in her life, but I was like, that is so kind to come to that realization and decide like, I love my friend enough that I might process some things with her, but I want to be mindful, like you're saying, of like those mirror neurons, like they match together. So I want to impact that part of her life in a negative way. And so I just thought that was so good.
Yeah. So I love how you said like, showing the fullness of it, because often we only just tell one side of the story. And I think either way, that's unhelpful. If you only tell the negative side of the story, that's not helpful. But if you only tell the positive side of the story, that's not helpful. So I think asking ourselves, am I sharing the fullness of this, the hard things, but also the happy things? We do, as humans, have a negativity bias in our brains. We notice what's negative first. It keeps us safe. Like if a bear came charging into your studio right now, you'd be like, I noticed that bear more than Holley. And so that's helpful for our survival. But if we're not aware of it, then we don't take steps to say, okay, yes, what's negative is probably going to stand out more to me. It's going to take a little bit of work for me to find the positive. And when I do that, it's not being fake. It's just balancing out this human part of who I am that has a purpose, keeping me alive. But if I let it be the only thing I ever think about, then it's going to lead to some toxic stress in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. There's a couple more pieces of this devotional that I really love, that pieces that you found important that I think are so important too. Like you have space for prayer, you have some reflection questions and some quotes and things like that kind of incorporated in. So let's talk about why was incorporating prayer so important to you? And let's talk about like just how crucial that is in our lives in the midst of stressful times.
Yeah, I think the moments when we're most stressed is when we feel like we're doing it all on our own. It's all up to us. And prayer reminds us that we're not alone and that someone bigger and wiser and more loving who can see the whole picture is part of our story today. Not just part of it, but the author of it. And so I think it's about just putting ourselves in God's presence in whatever state we're in, especially if we're stressed, and remembering that he's our ally, that he's not condemning us for being stressed out. He's not telling us to get it together. He's not rebuking us. Instead, he's saying, like a parent would to a child, you don't have to handle this all on your own. I'm here. I love you. I'm for you. Let's do this together. And so that was the purpose of including prayer.
Yeah, that's so good. It's so important. So before we go on to our Patreon questions, which I'm really excited about, if listeners are coming to this conversation today, just in the midst of a day of chaos, which is pretty likely considering this is going to release during the Christmas season, what is maybe one truth that you would want to leave them with today?
I would say what I just said, you don't have to do this on your own.
Yeah.
Recruit other people to help you, recruit God to help you.
Yeah.
And I think that's when we get most stressed, is we feel like I'm totally on my own in this. And it can definitely feel that way, but the reality is we're not. So if that means pausing to say a quick prayer, if it means texting a friend and saying, hey, having a hard day, can you pray for me? Yeah. Or saying, all right, maybe this is a good time to get in touch with my counselor again, whatever that looks like, or even going on a walk outside. Sometimes that helps me de-stress, just remembering, hey, I'm a part of a bigger world and a bigger plan. So I think that laying down that lie of I have to do all of it all on my own can be helpful.
Yeah.
And taking a deep breath. There's a technique I share in the book called box breathing. So if someone's listening right now, you breathe in for 4 counts, breathe in through your nose 4 counts, hold your breath for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, and then leave your lungs empty for 4 counts. And if you do that about 3 times, it will help your nervous system start getting out of fight or flight, because there's a very physical element to stress. We tend to treat it like it's all spiritual or it's all psychological. But the reality is what's happening is our fight or flight response is triggered, this alarm system in our body. And so whenever we feel stress, we need to do something physical to help with that too. So that's one simple technique. So thinking in those moments, what's something spiritual I can do? Say a quick prayer. What's something physical I can do? A quick round of box breathing. What's something relational I can do? Text a friend. And combining a few small things can add up to a big difference in our stress level.
Yeah, that's so good. Ooh, that's so practical. People can take that and just use it. I love that so much. Well, I am so excited to talk over on Patreon for our people who are subscribed over there. We're going to hop on over and do sort of our bonus round with Holley there. But I'm so grateful to have you today. I want you to share the name of the book. Where can people find you? All those things.
Yes, the book is What Your Soul Needs for Stressful Times. You can find it anywhere books are sold, and also see more about it on my site, holleygerth.com.
And Holley with an extra E, Holley. I always have to do like that double check to make sure I say your first name right, because I don't know any other Holleys that are spelled like yours. So I love that. Okay, well, this has been so much fun. I am so excited about this new devotional, and I just want to say a big thank you again for being here today.
Thanks again for having me.